This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News, see how parking problems are not only affecting students but also some of Moorhead's residents.
Meet this MSU Moorhead student who is making his way across the country, not by car, but by running shoes.
See how some MSU Moorhead students are reeling in dollars for a good cause.
But first, many college students are abusing a popular drug, but this time for good grades.
Hello and welcome to Campus News. I'm Chelsea Smith.
And I'm Robert Swanson. For years, college students have found ways to stay awake during late-night cramming sessions.
But a new method is becoming popular among many college students in the form of a drug used to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Zach Denzer shows you why some students are taking the drug without a prescription.
For most college students who study past midnight, a late-night pick-me-up is important. But what used to be energy drinks and coffee has turned into the ADHD pharmaceutical Adderall, a drug designed to increase cognitive activity in the brain. The effects of the drug, according to two MSUM students who requested to stay anonymous, are useful in the college setting.
You can go from normally you would read a book, and after 10 pages you just stop, you give up. With Adderall, you can read as much as you want to.
It reduces distractions, you know. It makes me more focused so I can study more.
There is no limit, and you absorb everything.
Adderall has begun to appear in college campuses around the country. According to one of the students, getting your hands on these pills all depends on your connections.
It's pretty easy. All you need is to know the right person. I have a couple of friends with ADHD, and I get it from them.
For unprescribed users of the drug, irritability and dependency are always a possibility. But for some, a tool to counter late nights, long essays, and little amounts of sleep is worth the risk. Zach Denzer, Campus News.
According to the journal Addiction, close to 25% of students at very competitive universities use Adderall as a study aid. Parking battles on the streets and in MSUM parking lots are causing lots of problems for campus and its surrounding community. Reporter Callan Klein takes us to where it all happens.
There's not enough parking for all the students to come and park.
There isn't enough parking.
There is not enough parking spots for students or for people who live around the campus.
You honestly think that there is enough parking places for the permits you sell?
Yep.
Okay.
And they make sure of that.
I know that I've had to pay for parking at the meters, even though I have a permit.
I mean, that happens. A lot of people, really what it boils down to is a lot of people don't want to walk.
As you can see, after a long day of class, the last thing some students want to see is one of these on their windshields. But one ticket seems like nothing compared to the daily battle one Moorhead woman has to face after her long 8-hour workday in order to just find a spot to park in front of her very own home.
Here, girl, come on, come on.
When I first saw this woman, who asked to not be named, she was parking her car in one of MSUM's student parking lots.
Because there was someone parked in my driveway and there was no parking on the street, so I parked in the pay lot.
How often does that happen?
Every day.
She was here before MSUM expanded.
There were houses and families living across the street from me when I bought my home.
That is, until what she calls a bad neighbor moved in across the street.
If I had known the campus was buying out the houses across from me, I would not have bought my home.
And with the college's arrival came all of her parking problems.
I find it very frustrating. I've had strangers parking in my driveway, called the city police. City police said that they wouldn't tow the car unless I paid for towing. I've parked behind people before, and they've driven across my yard to get to the street. Sometimes they move nicely and sometimes they don't.
And she says the problem boils down to one expense some students don't want to pay.
But I think the parking is quite expensive, the parking passes for the students. Parking should maybe be included in their fees or in their tuition.
But until the college can find a parking compromise, this woman will continue to have to look both ways before crossing the street, before she can consider herself home sweet home. This is Callan Klein, Campus News.
According to Sergeant Warnicki, there are future plans to create 100 to 150 new parking spots for students.
The jury has reached a verdict in the murder of former NDSU researcher Kurt Johnson. Daniel Wacht was found guilty in the murder of Johnson after Johnson went missing in Cooperstown, North Dakota on New Year's Eve of 2010. A search began for Johnson on January 2nd, and on January 5th, state crime investigators found his severed head in Wacht's basement. Wacht will be sentenced on a later date and could serve a maximum sentence of life in prison without parole.
There's a new hiring trend that gives employers the pass to view your Facebook profile. I talked to students to see if they thought this was a good method for hiring or just an invasion of privacy. Ask around campus and you get about the same reaction. Employers that ask for Facebook passwords during the hiring process is out of line.
But the idea of getting the information necessary to manipulate whatever content is on the web page seems kind of out of bounds for me. That seems like a bit of an inappropriate thing for an employer to do.
I personally think that having someone hand over their password is just kind of appalling.
Some offer advice to students who may be faced with future employers asking this question.
How would you feel if your grandmother saw this? Would you be embarrassed? If it's not okay for grandma, it's probably not okay for public consumption.
I don't know, maybe take a lot of pictures before you start drinking and then like hide the camera or something.
For some future graduates, the question to hand over your Facebook password may be inevitable. So some students are creating a Facebook page specifically for their professional life.
Someone coming right out of college, they might not have, the best content on their Facebook, so to make a second one might make sense.
If it were like my dream job, then I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, here's my stuff. And then I would feel really apprehensive about it, but I probably would just because I'd be desperate. But I just give them my more professional one. They don't need to know about the other one.
Students say keeping inappropriate pictures and vulgar posts are not a good way to keep your profile professional.
I think a lot of people are very irresponsible with what they post on their Facebook accounts. Whether it's pictures, statuses, some people give their whole life stories through their statuses.
So whether you're a couple weeks or a couple years away from graduation, some employers are using Facebook as a tool to see if you're the right fit for their company. According to the online employment website Career Builder, 37% of employers are using social media as a source for hiring applicants. The Kony 2012 social media sensation. Hundreds of millions around the world watched it, read about it, or maybe even tweeted about the viral video produced by the nonprofit Invisible Children. The controversial movie asked viewers to spend the night of April 20th plastering cities worldwide with images of Joseph Kony. He's a fugitive African warlord who has for decades kidnapped children and turned them into child soldiers and sex slaves.
We want to put posters all over the Fargo-Moorhead area, especially covering campus here. Just so when people wake up in the morning and they walk out their doors, it's the first thing that they see.
On MSU Moorhead's Kony 2012 Facebook event page, around 800 people said they would show up to the event, but only about 15 did. Organizers say the low turnout was partly due to the scrutiny over the video's accuracy and the finances of Invisible Children.
A group of NDSU students created a workshop that involves man's best friend and a little bit of patience. These wagging tails are here to teach current and future dog owners.
Puppy treats are very important. A good bribe is always important.
The students gathered here were brought together by Herd Incorporated, which stands for
Honesty, Excellence, Responsibility, and Dedication.
Herd Incorporated was created in a business class by a group of 5 freshman students.
We are working with an organization called For Love of Dogs, and we did this event to spread awareness on dogs that are abandoned and how simple training steps can help decrease the amount of dogs abandoned.
If you consider a dog, prepare in advance for it.
I personally have a dog and I haven't been exposed to the rescue side of it a lot, so seeing that kind of tugged at my heart a little bit because I just love my dog, so seeing some in need just made me want to help out in any way I could.
A subject that hits close to home for some, while others try not to get too close because of allergies.
I did just go blow my nose.
Touch! Woo! That was easy.
I stand here and I see all these people come out, and that's exciting because that means they've actually been practicing the skills that we've been studying in class.
Nice. I think I gained that patience is really important, definitely, in just the short little time that I worked with Jasmine. All right, stand, 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 stand.
I also love this event and seeing people interact with the dogs, and some of them it's their first interaction with dogs. Others of them miss their dogs so much from home that they were super excited to just be with them.
Whether students were visiting to see a familiar face or to learn new pet tips, These dogs seemed happy to be with their temporary masters. According to the organization For the Love of Dogs, it impounded 1,073 dogs last year and only euthanized 23 of them, all of which were not adoptable. Student researchers from MSU Moorhead were given the opportunity to show what they have been working on in the classroom. The 14th Annual Student Academic Conference included students from the majors across campus who presented a wide variety of research topics. They are able to share their findings through both poster displays and oral presentations in front of their peers and professors. The conference gives younger students an idea of what may be in store for them and gives those who plan to attend grad school practice and research.
It's very much related to what they're going to do in the real world, and it helps them to integrate all of their skills that they've learned in all of their classes.
The conference had about 400 participants with 280 presentations throughout the day.
Students from around the world were able to showcase their culture at MSU Moorhead's Celebration of Nations.
Photojournalist Shoko Akiyama takes us inside the event.
Celebrations of Nations is an event that MSUM has hosted for over 40 years to impact the community with our students, with our international students. They will cook and they perform, they entertain for our community members.
I like the girls dancing, you know, the African girls, yeah.
I like the Nepal one where like 3 girls came out to dance their like traditional dances.
We had representation for about 40 countries, but for Flag Parade, we represented all the countries.
Pretty excited, of course. Yeah, it's my first time here. This semester is my first semester. I've never done this before.
This year we had 700 plus community guests, staff, faculty attend the event. The event went pretty well. You can see from the celebrations of nations that there was a lot of color and a lot of varieties, and so we wanted to display how much color our international students brings to a campus and to a community.
The celebration also had a fashion show, wall murals, and a silent auction. As MSU Moorhead seniors anticipate their college graduation, high school seniors are coming to campus to begin their university career. Incoming students sit in front of computers brought out of storage specifically for registration days as they create their first college schedule for next fall.
Then you can meet some people first off, so then you have some connections so you're not so like overwhelmed and alone. And then also like you have advisors helping you out.
MSUM students in blue polos pass on knowledge from personal experience to next fall's freshmen by helping them choose the best classes for their major. Last year, more than 7,000 students were enrolled at MSUM.
The ballroom at MSU Moorhead is often filled with loud music and dancing, but a recent event was a bit quieter for a good reason. It was to help others learn about people who are deaf. Noor Alamran takes us to this unique event.
Tonight, students gather together to learn more about the deaf culture.
It's all part of the MSUM American Sign Language Club's Deaf Night Out, where students got the chance to learn signing, some for the first time.
I'm 21 years old.
You want to have lunch with me?
During the event, students learned that
deaf people can drive, they can't listen to music.
But listening for people who are deaf means feeling the music. And the ASL Club pumped the bass up to give that experience. Students also learned how to be romantic using sign language.
I learned how to speak French kiss in sign language.
How do you say it?
Like this. Yeah.
One student says that he thought deaf people feel isolated. But by coming to this event, he learned that this wasn't the case.
I thought they will feel sad or living in a totally different world and they don't want to communicate with other people, but actually they love life. Like even probably much more than us.
The audience also learned how to applaud silently. With photographer Joshua Bergeron, this is Noor Al-Amran, Campus News.
This was the first time ever that the American Sign Language Club at MSUM has held a deaf night out.
An author who's gone from being a heterosexual man to a lesbian woman is sharing personal stories about her transition with college students. Kate Bernstein spoke about gender definition and diversity at North Dakota State University and the University of North Dakota. Theories from her book, Gender Outlaw, are part of curriculums at more than 120 colleges and universities around the world. She challenges the ideas of what society defines as male and female and talks about the experiences of those who do not fit into what is considered normal. Her most recent work and story of her life, A Queer in Pleasant Danger, will be available in May.
The Nemzik Fieldhouse at MSU Moorhead traded in its basketball court and hoops for mats, pads, and belts. Reporter Carly Lemkuhl has more.
All of the stretching and practicing led up to a moment that brought the crowd together, the Northwest Black Belt Championship. For many competitors, it was a great opportunity to learn and meet other people who share the same interest in Taekwondo. The students were judged on form and sparring.
Sparring is the fighting combat where you try and hit your opponent on the hogu or the head. And then your form is basically your belt form where you just show the judges your form. And it doesn't matter if you're a higher belt or lower belt, just as long as you do a clean performance.
All ranks of belts, ranging from white to black, were invited to take part. Awards were given to the first, second, and third place winners. For Zek, it wasn't the awards that were the best part.
I'd probably say sparring was the best.
For what reasons?
Well, I just got to beat someone that I usually don't get to do.
No matter what size or age, these are the people and moves you wouldn't want to mess with. With photographer Joshua Bergeron, Carly Lemkuhl, Campus News.
This was the 33rd annual Northwest Black Belt competition held at MSUM. And now we turn it over to CJ Pierre for a look at this week's sports.
CJ, heard that the Thundering Herd fans had a big turnout for this last week's spring game.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they actually had even more fans than the Gophers had at their spring game, so just another stick it to the Gophers right there. North Dakota State University is coming off its first ever Division I football championship, and fans are still as excited as ever, and their showing at NDSU's annual spring game was proof of that. A record crowd of almost 6,000 showed up to cheer on the hometown Bison in the annual Green and Gold game.
Several years ago when this game I came out in a pair of sweatpants and there was a couple hundred people up in the stands, and you know, it's an outpouring of support. We recognize the interest level's high, and that sends a message to our players.
The game was a real barn burner. Not so much. It was an offensive struggle as a fourth quarter field goal was the only scoring of the day. Quarterback Brock Jensen says the team will continue to take shape and get better.
You know, we're gonna continue our summer workouts, and you know, we're gonna get lifting next week already, and you know, we're gonna keep working hard, and you know, we're gonna keep that Bison Pride tradition.
The team steps on the field for their first game of the 2012 season on September 1st when it takes on Robert Morris. In Major League Baseball, Chicago White Sox pitcher Philip Humber recently pitched the first perfect game of the 2012 season. But he's not the only one sending batters back to the dugout. NDSU softball's Whitney Johnson pitched her first career no-hitter against the University of Missouri, Kansas City. The junior finished with 10 strikeouts and pitched all 7 innings in the Bison's 4-0 win over the Kangaroos. Johnson was only 1 walk and 1 error away from pitching a perfect game herself. Freshman Kristen Mankey also pitched a no-hitter earlier this season against Liberty. One of the newest coaches of the MSU Moorhead's track and field team has traveled with some of the most talented athletes in the nation, and his experience allowed him to be invited to take part in the World Indoor Track and Field Championships. Sports reporter Colin Boyles tells us more about his story.
In and out. The minute we start fooling around...
Ron Sheffield is an assistant coach for the MSUM track and field team.
Yep.
His position now greatly contrasts the one he held not so long ago with the world's greatest.
Good. That's all right. Stop, 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 stop.
They're all champions. They're all there by right, through battle. And you're the head coach of this group of great athletes that call themselves the United States of America. It's nothing like it. This whole team have so much talent.
Sheffield served as the Team USA women's head coach in Istanbul, Turkey at the 2012 World Indoor Track and Field Championships. His selection to the team came from top-notch credentials, including training NFL superstars, a world-class boxer, and the world's greatest track athletes. The Dragons' head coach has been friends with Sheffield for years and says Team USA chose a champion to lead them.
I told him he was going home because he's working with the people that want to be the best in the world, and that's what he does.
Sheffield backed up his selection as a coach by helping Team USA to 18 medals, including 10 gold.
Her job is to catch.
After being around the top competitors in the world, Sheffield plans to bring home the qualities it takes to make a champion.
Focus, initiative, integrity, courage, honor, pride, everything. And I mean everything.
His past in the area of track and field and overall athletics helped him gain national recognition while winning at the highest level. It is a level that he wants his student athletes to someday reach.
Hey, Ashley.
Both on and off the
You gotta
track.
learn how to stay out of the way, though.
With photographer Kenny Buck, Colin Boyles, Campus News Sports.
And first of all, I want to say, you look nice.
Sheffield has trained with many pro athletes such as boxer Oscar De La Hoya and Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton. Alec Nemzik Fieldhouse is undergoing big changes this spring to accommodate a new attraction for sporting events, and MSU Moorhead will feature technology that the school's never seen before. The finishing touches are being added to new scoreboards, sideline scores tables, and a sound system that total more than $1 million. Members of Dragon Athletics expect the payoffs to begin when fans catch their first glimpse of the changes.
I mean, you're going to come in here and you're going to get an experience better than most Division I schools. And that's not coming from me, that's coming from the guys putting the stuff in that do this across the country.
Webking says not only will the fans enjoy the additions, but the athletes and prospective interns will appreciate them too.
The goal is to make it student run, so it's also a great educational opportunity to be a lab or a class or whatever we end up making it, but it's a great opportunity for people who love production.
Webking says the scoreboards are just another step forward for Dragon Athletic game days. Ruck, scrum, try, and lineout. These words probably aren't familiar to most, but for rugby players, they're a second language. Rugby has been growing in popularity among students, and many colleges have created their own club teams. This trend encouraged NDSU to hold a tournament for rugby teams in the Midwest to finish off their seasons. Area men and women's teams, as well as teams from Mankato, Duluth, and others came to compete. Between all of the rucks and scrums, rugby is a physical sport, but that is what often draws people to it.
I actually was on my lacrosse team in high school, so I got kicked out of a bunch of games for being too aggressive. So I think it's awesome. I always thought it was kind of crap that you can't do like violent stuff in other sports. It's a good stress reliever, that's for sure.
Rugby was originally created at rugby school in the United Kingdom during the 19th century. Running 26.3 miles is a grueling test of endurance for both the body and the mind. Reporter Caitlin Wigmore takes a look at one MSU Moorhead student who is racking up the miles.
It may not seem like your ideal choice of exercise, running 26.3 miles, but for MSUM senior Cooper Taylor, it's his passion.
Yeah, I didn't run at all in high school. I ran my first 5K 3 months after I graduated, and then here I am running marathons.
He has accumulated around 2,000 miles in the last 3 years, running on average 20 to 30 miles a week.
On good weeks, I like to do about 40 miles. In the winter time, it's probably closer to 20 to 25, solely because I'm running here in the Wellness Center track.
His best marathon time, a 4:12, is working towards the dream event.
For every marathoner, the goal is to qualify for Boston. So that's one, but that's kind of off in the distance. I know right now that my times are nowhere near where Boston is.
And with a schedule like Cooper's, finding the time to train is not always easy.
Taking 18 credits a semester, working 30 hours a week. So yeah, it's definitely hard to manage that. I'll run before class, so I'll get up and I'll run at 7 a.m. Or I find that even in the evening, since it's Minnesota, it's not too hot.
For many runners, the ultimate achievement would be to run a marathon of 26.3 miles. Now Cooper has already ran 4 of them. So you may be wondering, why run more? Well, Cooper says his ultimate goal would be to run 46 more.
My bucket list goal is to do all 50 by the time I'm 50 years old. So I have 28 more years.
Cooper has competed in the Fargo Marathon, San Diego's Rock and Roll Marathon, the Chicago Marathon, and this past weekend in Kansas at the Garmon Marathon in the Land of Oz.
So those 6 miles in between miles 16 and 22, those were like death. So I trudged along as best as I could. My girlfriend went out and was watching me. So it was killer to know that I still had 6 more miles to get back to where I would see her and have some motivation and have someone just saying, go Cooper, instead of just saying like, yeah, runner. So it's nice to have like that individualized, someone's cheering especially for you.
Wherever Cooper's career leads, the next step on his 50-state journey is Utah on July 28th. Caitlin Wigmore, Campus News.
Whenever Cooper reaches his goal, he'll be welcome to join the 50 States Marathon Club, which has 2,770 members from all 50 states and 11 other countries. And I know how much you guys love math, so get this. If you add all those runners together, they've ran over 163,000 marathons.
Oh, I hope they have some comfy shoes.
We look forward to seeing them at the Fargo Marathon. Thank you very much, CJ. Minnesota may be the land of 10,000 lakes, but students at MSU Moorhead aren't fishing on any of them. Reporter Rebecca Liebach takes us to a fishing spot where every catch is a keeper.
Reel it in! No! Keep going! Keep going! Reel it in!
Students at MSU Moorhead are fishing.
The Smash Burger shirt!
And no, they aren't fishing for t-shirts.
Smash Burger.
They are fishing for wishes.
Fish for a Wish. It's just a game where you have a fishing pole and you donate $1 and you can get different prizes. It's better than lunch.
The dollar you pay not only gives you a prize, but it helps others too.
And all the benefits go to Make-A-Wish Foundation. You gotta get. You gotta come fish. Everybody in line.
Xavier Reed, president of the Student Athletic Advisory Council, says there is a certain technique into drawing in a crowd.
Be loud and trying to be excited and get people to want to come over and see what's going on over there, because once they come over, they want to join in with the fun. All right, we got another one. Wow, our fish is so big it broke the... Oh.
So while many students are trying to get the catch of the day, Xavier Reed is casting to make the wishes of others come true. Rebecca Liebach, Campus News.
Fish for a Wish raised more than $225 for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And that's it for this edition and this season of Campus News.
We leave you with footage of dancing and a fashion show from the Asian Awareness Night at MSU Moorhead.
It's been a fun ride. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in 2013.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the Department of Mass Communications at Minnesota State University Moorhead in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.